TCI is brought to you by Unbridled Song, sire of 14 Grade 1 winners, including 2012 Forgo winner MC.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Breeders' Cup. Alongside Joel Cunningham, I'm John Siegel. You know, Joel, we had 11 divisions represented this weekend, 11 win-in-your-in races for the Breeders' Cup. Man, we had to come back and do a recap show.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, as far as the results of the Breeders' Cup, you know, in early November, a lot of it's going to play from this past weekend, and obviously this coming weekend we have Keeneland opening. But, you know, what we did last week, we sort of compared the East and the West Coast in North America to kind of see where the top contenders were in these final preps.
Yep.
Well, now that we have the results, I think we should do the same thing here. Do a little homework because I'll be honest with you, there's some winners this weekend that I'm going to stay away from in the Breeders' Cup. And there are some horses that may be disappointed in the eyes of some that I think are sitting on big races in the Breeders' Cup.
All right, well, let's jump right in there. Before we go into East Coast, West Coast, I want to talk about two divisions that were only represented on the East Coast. Of course, that's the Dirt Mile and the Sprint. We see Jerseytown. He impresses in the Kelso. Joel, this field was top-notch, full of Grade 1 horses.
You know, Jerseytown was sort of hinting last time out in the Forgo that he was sort of rounding back into form. He's an old-class horse in New York, John, but his game, his niche is that one-turn mile, that one-turn configuration. He faced a couple grinders this weekend. Shackelford, who's a high cruising speed type horse, you know, to honor sir, broke poorly. He's kind of the same kind of horse. And it really, the way the track was playing, it's set up for a quick twitch type closer around one turn. That's Jerseytown's niche. He breaks through, he runs fast, I get it. But is he a contender in that dirt mile now? I would say no. And this is why. It's ship across country.
Yep.
It's two turns, it's not one turn. It's not New York. So in my opinion, going back around two turns, I actually like your runner-up better. I thought Shackelford off the layoff. I was encouraged by the way he ran from gate to wire.
All right.
He was still finishing at the end. I think it's a perfect prep. Shackelford's a horse that comes out of this race, the Kelso, that I'm going to be looking at next month in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile.
All right, now let's look towards the Sprint division. We see the Lumber guy. Joel, he's only a 3-year-old, and he defeats older horses in here.
Yeah, to be impressed. It wasn't the greatest, you know, Vosburg field you'll ever see, but the fact that this horse comes off of a little layoff and wins pretty decisively. Now, speed was playing. I thought Keisha Electronica ran well to be rallying late. But to be honest with you, this Vosburg field, if I'm looking at the Lumber guy, he's more of a contender in that Sprint. He really whets your appetite for 2013. He could be a big player in 2013. Right now, MC's the only sprinter in New York that really, I think, can rival those California sprinters.
All right, let's move now to turf, Joel. We saw four races over the weekend. We saw Slim Shady. We also saw Point of Entry. We saw Na Rain, and we saw Marketing Mix. Of those four winners, who do you think was most impressive?
Well, let me tell you this. Right now, and the reason we're not talking about the turf at 1.5 miles is because all the class really is in Europe. You know, St. Nicholas Abbey and maybe Sea Moon and a lot of those horses that can come over in that race. That's why even though Point of Entry's on a roll right now, for him to have to ship out of New York and run on a very firm turf course in California against the Europeans, personally, I don't like his chances. And Slim Shady, I probably like him a little more than Point of Entry. But to be honest with you, John, I just think the Euros are so much better that, to me, those races weren't as important. Now, what was important for me, Na Rain, we liked her on the yielding course. Okay, she won. She beat a good group in there. But again, that's another filly that now is probably going to be overbet in a filly mare turf. She's going to have to run on firm, very firm ground in California. And really, that's the reason I like Marketing Mix, John. We knew she laid over the field on paper. If we go to the Twin Spires TV race replay here, we'll take a look at it. And we hit the play button here. And this is in the Rodeo Drive. It's 1.25 miles at Santa Anita. The same trip she's going to have to run in to win the filly mare turf. Very firm turf course. She got a beautiful trip in here with Garrett Gomez. You see her. She's already made the lead on the turn. She has that ability to track, make the lead. She doesn't have the greatest turn of foot the last 1/8 of a mile. That's her style, is kind of getting to the race, top of the stretch, and finish strong. But I like how Garrett eases her up here. Save something, John, for that filly mare turf. She has a win over the trip, the distance. They've spaced her races, campaigned her greatly, and she's got a very firm course that you never know how the Euros are going to react to. I tell you what, in that filly mare turf, I like Marketing Mix right now.
All right, Joel, let's move now to the Ladies Classic. We saw Royal Delta. Joel, she looks like she is back in form. The biggest question out of the weekend is, do they now run her in the Classic?
I think they do. I mean, they paid $8 million for her. They tried to run her in the $10 million Dubai World Cup. They were game enough to ship over and run against the Colts there.
Right.
Now that she's shown she's back in top form, I think they take a shot. I mean, who are you scared of? Game on, dude? I mean, really, that division's sort of depleted, and there's 5 million reasons to give it a shot. And I tell you what, the Ladies Classic's no cinch. It might be just as tough of a race. I mean, you look at Austin Feather, there's a lot of nice fillies that are going to run on Friday and not Saturday. I think Royal Delta, getting back around those big turns at Belmont. She proved me wrong, John. She's not, I thought from her Delaware performance and her Saratoga performance, not a lot of excuses. She might have been slipping form a little bit. She showed she's on her A game, and I think they will run her in the Classic, and she's a contender.
All right, you mentioned a lot of good fillies going to run in the Classic. You have to mention the next one. Joel, she is a daughter of A.P. Indy. She's trained by Todd Pletcher. She's won multiple Grade 1s now. Of course, I'm talking about Love and Pride. Joel, she looked great.
Which, yeah, you just mentioned A.P. Indy, royally bred, fast, trained by Todd Pletcher, beat Royal Delta at Saratoga, and it's tricky in a Grade 1. Now, we do the Zenyatta here, and we saw her turning into the stretch. Now, speed was holding all weekend, but you see she leaves her rivals in the dust here. I don't think this is the greatest field. I don't think Amani appreciated the way the track was playing. Include Me Out, you see finishing up in the inside here. To me, didn't have nearly as good a finish as that would encourage me leading up to the Ladies Classic, and I thought she'd show more tactical speed here. So, a clear winner here, and you say, okay, AP Indy, Pletcher, win 2 Grade 1s coming in, she's got to be one of your favorites in the Ladies Classic, right? I don't know. I think she might be the 5th or 6th choice in that race. That's how tough that race is this year.
Well, that just pushes, I think, the connections of Royal Delta even closer to the Classic.
Yeah, I agree. And then again, there's 5 million reasons to try it, and Royal Delta can handle a mile and a quarter.
All right, we just mentioned the Classic. Let's talk about it here for a second. Of course, we had the Jockey Club Gold Cup on the East Coast. Joel, we see last year's winner flat out in here. He wins this race over, I thought, a huge performance by Stay Thirsty.
What, the Breeders' Cup Classic was in Belmont? You might be looking at your favorite right here, because this horse does not lose at Belmont, John. But you know what? Well, you remember last year we were shooting the show. I was so impressed with Flat Out's form.
Right.
And the way he was working at Churchill, he really fooled us. I mean, he lost form not only in the Classic, he didn't run well also at the end of the year in the Clark. So here's a horse that, to me, is a different horse at Belmont when you look at his past performances. So now having to come out of this race, ship across country at Santa Anita, a track he's never run over, I really question whether or not Flat Out is a top contender in that Classic. Again, if it was at Belmont, yes, but probably not at Santa Anita.
All right, a horse that's going to be your favorite, I think, for the Classic is Game On Dude. It's on his home turf, and Joel, he has proven he's the best horse on the West Coast. Of course, I'm talking about Game On Dude.
Well, let's talk about it right now, the Awesome Again Stakes. We'll bring it up here on the TV, and we'll take a look, hit the play button here, and we're starting at the top of the stretch. And they had no shot to beat this horse. He loves the track. Speed was holding. They had no shot, John. He had a tactical advantage over all the closers in the race, and he finishes up here under his new rider, Rafael Bejarano. You know, it wasn't his best performance, in my opinion, based on the trip he got, but it was, again, like marketing mix. They didn't empty the tank. I think it's really going to set him up for his A-plus performance in the Classic, and there's no question. He's your horse to beat. And you see Nanios here. You know, the 3-year-old. I think he's the top 3-year-old in the country. For me, he's the top 3-year-old in the country right now, and on dirt, and in my opinion, Nanios has a chance to really hit the board, in my opinion, in the Classic.
All right, you just mentioned him hitting the board in the Classic. Let's see if he hits the board in the TCI top 5. Joel, right away, I see 3 question marks: Mucho Macho Man, Nanios, and Ron the Greek. I don't see Flat Out on here. I don't see Dullahan on here. Just give me a quick rundown of your list.
Yeah, a lot of closers didn't make my list. Ron the Greek made it over Richard's Kid and a lot of them because of that big cap win. That's kind of what I went back to. I know he likes that track if he gets enough pace. And if you can draw a line through the Jockey Club Gold Cup, I am concerned about that race because he's had a long campaign. But it was playing towards speed in that race a little more, so I can forgive him for that. I think he's earned the 5 spot.
All right, then Nanios is the lone 3-year-old?
Yeah, and we talked about him a little bit, John. The thing I like about him is he has that upside. You know, he's only 3, so if he improves off of the Awesome Again runner-up performance, he has enough tactical speed to stay in the race and still finish. I like Nanios, maybe as a chance to hit the board.
All right, no questions on Royal Delta, but I do have a question on Mucho Macho Man. Joel, they have not run this horse. He's going to go straight to the Breeders' Cup now. Are you concerned about that?
Well, my concern is where's Mike Smith going between 2 and 3 here? Mucho Macho Man, they've proven they can run well with him fresh, so I'm not questioning the tactics as much. We don't know if he'll like that track. That's up in the air. And he's a grinder, John. My main concern about him is, can he run by Game On Dude late?
Well, you mentioned Game On Dude already. I see him at number 1. No question marks
The TV's
there.
not tall enough. He should be here at number 1, and then the
Fair
rest
enough.
of them. He's going to be a huge favorite in the Classic. Deservingly so. It's his backyard.
All right, thank you, Joel, and thank you guys for watching. Make sure you come back on Thursday. We got a lot more prep races to talk about, plus the opening of Keeneland.